Hey everyone, Connor here from Kamerastore.com, here with another edition of the Q&A, as usual joined by Nico. We have some questions both from YouTube and from Instagram. If you have any questions after listening to these answers, leave a comment below and we'll get to it in the next one maybe.
Yeah,
Let's get started.
we share the questions on Instagram on Thursdays, but you can also ask anything you want in the comments below.
Yeah.
Okay, we have Jane Ranta. Is the Kamerastore lab permanently shut down? I remember when they stated the renovation would be done in the summer. That was like 2 years ago.
The renovation was a funny thing for us to say, I guess. Yeah, we don't offer lab services for customers anymore in-house. We have a partnership with Carmencita Film Lab in Spain, and they do really excellent work for us. So the lab end of our business was not necessarily the easiest or most profitable part of the business. So it made more sense for us to offload.
Yeah.
I don't know. Give that part to somebody else who is specialized in that and better at that, frankly, than we were.
Yeah, well, the lab existed in the store because we didn't feel it was morally okay to sell film cameras and try to fulfill the film community, but not have a service that we can develop and stuff. The problem is, like Connor said, we're specialized in cameras. Like we have 40 employees currently checking, cleaning, repairing, listing, logistics, marketing, content creation team, and everything for secondhand used cameras. But our lab was run by one person.
It was one guy.
And there was sometimes a lot of work, sometimes no work, and it was very complicated, and we were sometimes missing, like the mark. So in this, we met Carmencita, and they came over to visit us and offered us a partnership where we offer our clients their services through our website. So they ship to us, we put them all together, ship them to them. Will our lab open again? Probably not, unless we have a major issue with our current lab. We won't. We got rid of some of the equipment. We do still have a darkroom that we use for basically employees, so we can develop and print if we want, but it's not for customers per se. It does remove the edge of doing things in-house and like in a day or two, but we were never that efficient either. So with this service, you get an email when the film is received there, you get an email when your scans are ready, and then you get an email when your nags are ready to pick up. So it's pretty good, and I think it's been working so far so good. We as employees use it all the time, and I think we're all pretty happy. So I hope that our customers are also happy with that.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
I mean, I've only heard good things about the services that Carmencita provides.
And they make mistakes, but we also made mistakes, so it's human.
Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah. Man from Titan. I've heard Fuji started making C200 in Japan again. Is that true? No more repackaged Kodak Gold.
Nico's photo news time.
This is a way more complex question to answer than what maybe is possible.
Yeah.
So Fuji in the USA found an agreement with Kodak to finish like what they call Fuji Color 200, and that's been done in the USA and sold mostly in the USA, and some made it to overseas. But then Fuji has kind of like sent a couple batches of C200 that say made in Japan again. Fuji, as a Japanese company traditionally is like closed as close as can be. We get more leaks from Apple than we get from Fuji. And that means that nothing is known. We don't know if they have a coating facility, if they're currently coating. They coat Instax film, which has a color negative in it, but we don't know anything else. So I don't know. My guess is that it probably could be possible. I've also heard rumors that Provia and Velvia is also coming back into stock. So who knows? But then again, people are like, it's been frozen for years, and everything you hear is a rumor of somebody that maybe made it up in a bar. So with Fuji, no idea, can't confirm. But C200, if you find it, buy it. If you don't find it, then get some other stuff that you enjoy. But it's been gone for a while and might be gone for longer.
Yeah.
So no real answer there.
I believe it when I see it on the shelf for sale.
Yes, exactly. We have Yochi. Yochi. But what black and white film stock has the best contrast And then he adds in parentheses, maybe color too.
Well, I mean, you know more about black and white than I do, but isn't contrast like so tied to how you develop it? I mean, obviously the film stock has inherent contrast and stuff, but how you
Yeah.
develop it has like a significant effect
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah. The way you shoot it, the way you develop it, if you push it or pull it, the way the film stock obviously starts, and so on. For example, Ilford's ISO 50 film, the Pan F, is quite contrasty in general, but then again, you could develop it in a way to make it super smooth.
Yeah.
So everything can be. Black and white is the cool thing about it, but also the super confusing thing about it is any film can almost look like any other film, depending on the agitation, temperature, developer, the way you expose it, everything. So you can make anything be super contrasty.
But
But
okay, let's say it's a lab developing, so you're not controlling that. If you want something high contrast, because best contrast is subjective, but high contrast and then something low contrast, what would you pick?
high contrast, probably traditional grain. So I wouldn't go for the deltas and the T maxes because those
The
have
high ISO ones.
yeah, no, the T Max has the 100 and 400. They're quite smooth in contrast, and the same with Delta, Ilford Deltas. So I would go for HP5 or Tri-X probably.
Yeah.
If you really want more contrast, I would maybe push it a stop because that usually adds, the less, there's like basically less levels to the grays. So I would say something like that. HP5 or Tri-X push to like 800 or 1600 will give you plenty of contrast. I really like HP5 1600 when I print it. I don't love scanning it, but that's my take. But you can also add contrast when you scan, so you do what you. And color, I can answer that slightly with some
Well,
info.
I mean, yeah, if you go ahead. I mean,
Well, color, if you think about Kodak, Kodak is like the film stocks we use come from the film motion picture film stocks. So there's Vision 2 and there's the Vision 3. Vision 2 is the older technology by the naming itself, but that was what is used still to this day on Portra 800. And this was meant to be basically directly printed onto paper, no computer involved. But Vision 3 for cinematography and motion picture basically is meant to be scanned and then color graded. So if you buy Vision 3 film stock to shoot on a camera on a movie, you'll see that the pictures look a little bit like log, like if you're shooting log on digital, like a little muddy, but then you color grade it. So Portra 160 and Portra 400 come from that Vision 3, so they have less saturation and less punchiness to them. You can just, they literally said it when it came out, the marketing, like just make the saturation higher, add some contrast. But when you print it on paper without any computer, it has less contrast than Portra 800. But then you have Ektar and you have all this other stuff that also is quite contrasty, in my opinion. But I'd say probably Portra 800 is your best bet for contrast if I had to choose.
well, and that makes sense when you think about it in terms of that log color grading and for the cinema background. But,
Yeah. Yeah, the Portra 800 has a saturation you don't usually see in other film
It's
stocks,
true.
and the color pops a little more. So my suggestion, Portra 800. Even
That's
though
probably why I like 800.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has like less work to do.
Yeah.
Then we have the Pentaxian. Will my dream of a 120 and 110 Santa film come true?
We had Santa black and white in 120 at some point. The degree of difficulty of spooling things into 35 millimeter canisters versus spooling them for 120 with backing paper that works, and the different cutting sizes dramatically increases our production cost and how difficult it is for the people who are doing it. So I would say probably not anytime soon. And then 110 is a whole nother ballpark where you need cartridges basically, and there's probably not so many out there. We would probably have to make our own.
I talked to Lomography. That's the only people I know that are making something like it.
They make the cartridges their own, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because with our 35 millimeter Santa, we have recycled spools. So we get spools from labs and basically just put our film inside of it. So yeah, it's good for the environment and it's good for us because we don't have to produce our own canisters. Basically, no. It would be too difficult.
So the answer is no, it won't come true. We have dabbled with the idea of 4x5 because that would be a fairly easier process than, like Connor said, respooling into 120 with backing paper with a spool and all this. But then again, it's different technical difficulties, especially knowing what the demand might be for a color film that would be kind of hand cut. But I've even designed the machine myself to cut it, but not yet there. But it maybe one day, as people keep asking.
At least as a proof of concept.
Yeah. We have Puciarelli, something like that. Do you know anyone in Europe that paints cameras well?
I thought this was an interesting question because a lot of the people that do paint cameras are not in Europe. Like there's the one guy in South America who's very good. There's Shueito Camera in Japan, which are excellent. Where's the camera coat guy from?
I know Kanto Camera is Taiwan, maybe? I don't know. There's one in, I think, Taiwan, Hong Kong or China, and Japan, maybe.
I think Kanto Camera is Japan.
Could be. I might be very mistaken. But I think there might be one in the UK. I guess that doesn't count as Europe anymore, at least economically speaking. But I don't really know anybody in Europe. I have seen PPP repairs paint cameras, but that's also UK.
Yeah.
So I can't say we don't. So the answer is no, we don't know anybody in Europe that we're like, yeah, that's the person you should send your camera to.
The painter, yeah.
I guess Leica Cameras paints their cameras, but not yours.
I can't send them my K1000?
He didn't say, do you know anyone in Europe that paints their camera,
that can paint my camera for me, yeah.
So Leica does a good job painting
their own
black
cameras,
paint.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's very true.
That's as good as our answer could
I guess
be.
Hasselblad as well.
They paint them in Sweden, that's true.
Yeah.
Then we have Lyran Steinmetz. Is it tough to find a 645 back for Hasselblad?
No. They're definitely way less common than the 6x6 backs, just because that's the normal format for Hasselblad. But they're out there, the A16s and the C16s.
A32s.
Would that be the 221? Okay. We've had a few of them. If you look on our site, we actually repair them just the same as we do the A12s, which is really nice. But yeah, they're decidedly less common. We probably have 10 A12s for every A16 that comes through, if not more.
And if this question was going towards the H series, the film back for 645, I don't think it's for that. But that one's pretty uncommon because they didn't make that many. So they break and that's it.
But that's the only
645
film back
format.
for Hasselblad H.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe that's his question. I don't know. He didn't say.
Yeah, those
it
are
is
just
very tough to
uncommon.
find those.
It's true. It's true.
And they're called, what is it, 1632, because I guess it was for 120 and for 220. But yeah, those, the A16s, like Connor said, are common in the web shop every now and then. But we can only sell as many as we can buy, so we don't get that many in, so we can't get that many out. NS Tosi, what's the best way to make yourself known as a photographer or get your name out there? We're probably not the best example to answer this question.
I've done very little work as a professional, mostly because I don't want to do the things that you have to do to make yourself known as a photographer. To become a successful professional in an area, you need basically to do work in that area. And you need to socialize and market yourself to people. A lot of the time that can probably start with friends and family that need photography done, and then you just make sure that they credit you where they can, and then word of mouth can help pick that up. I don't see a lot of photographers doing paid ads. There are some, actually, surprisingly, but
I get them on Instagram every now and then, and it's always the most random accounts
yeah.
that you could imagine. It's
Yeah.
like if they accidentally paid for the
Yeah.
promote your account.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I would say if you're really starting from scratch, that's probably the best thing to do is to just take pictures of people that you know and trust. And, you know, if they have an event or something, volunteer to go do it. Maybe take a little bit of pay or take some pay because you are working.
Yeah, I've seen a strategy on social media that I thought was very interesting back in the YouTube days of some of the people that started on film photography, is they would go to every big account, and the moment they posted, they would say a comment. It would be like the first comment on any account on the first. So if I followed this photographer that I enjoy in my area or something, follow them, and then basically the moment they post, be the first one to compliment their work or to say something, and that'll get the eyes of people that might be surrounding them, and maybe that even those photographers might be like, hey, this guy seems really nice and he likes my work, and try not to just be like, cool picture, bro. But you know, maybe they will even contact you, and maybe you can start by. It depends on what you want to do. Is it art photography or is it commercial photography? Commercial photography, you can start maybe being an intern in a way. You can like learn. I've assisted photographers in my hometown, and that helped me a lot. And even get to know the clients and get to see how it works. And they call you if you're efficient. But if it's more like an artsy kind of thing, then I guess social media is the king nowadays. Galleries, get into community galleries, bars. You can ask restaurants, hey, can I display my pictures in your restaurant? And
Yeah, it's true.
stuff like that. You like basically you got to make noise for people to realize you can't just sit in your house with a phone and think that that's the only way. It can be done that way, but it's much harder nowadays. The algorithms are not great.
Yeah, it's true. It really does depend on what photography you're trying to do. There's probably local groups in your area that are, you know, like a community darkroom group that develops film and then they want to exhibit, and then you can get some of your artistic photos shown there. Being an apprentice is a great thing you could do if you're in an area that has professional photographers. I mean, plenty of people would love an extra set of hands in their studio or on their shoots, and that could be a great way for you to get to know how things work, get to know clients, get your name out there,
and start asking about prices, tariffs, how much do you charge? You know, I've done that, and I got to learn a lot. We have JM Pinto Photography. Need some inspiration for shooting. Please help. I would start with, so winter in Finland is one of those times that kind of makes you want to just be inside because it is kind of dark, and we work from usually office hours, so we leave and it's dark. But I would say if gear is an easy one that kind of motivates you, nobody will get more excited than having a new piece of something. But it's a bad way to, you know, push for consumerism, in my opinion.
a little bit.
New film is also fun, or trying a new style.
Yeah.
Maybe learning something that's completely out of your reach. Like I remember at some point, I decided to go down the path of like learning strobes and flashes and external strobes.
That's true.
That like sparked my interest in a weird way, which to this day I still can understand flashes, and I help people here at the office sometimes with content creation for flash photography because of that learning. But it's a tool set now, and sometimes I get bored and I just throw a flash in there and I shoot something different. So I'd say learning techniques you've never done before, because once you get like to do something, like even if it's boring, your head usually goes like, oh my God, like this flash photography is really boring. But I have a good idea. Maybe I should shoot a project, and it kind of like your head does this weird thing that you get bored and you go for something else.
Yeah, that's a lot of the same stuff I was going to say. I mean, just recently, I've been like always a 50mm guy, basically. And I've just recently started going super wide, which is something that used to make me really uncomfortable. But then you force yourself to do it a little bit, and then when you're walking around, you start seeing the same area that you've been taking pictures of for years and years and years totally differently when you start framing it for a 20mm instead of a 50mm, or you start carrying a flash around.
Or a tripod.
Or a tripod, and do long exposures at night. That's actually something that I really enjoy doing here when it's super cold and nobody's out, and maybe it's snowing, and some of the lights with the snow can look really nice in a long exposure. So basically, get yourself out of your comfort zone. Don't necessarily go to the least comfortable thing, but something just toe into the discomfort,
Yeah.
and you might find some really creative stuff.
Also, photo books is a helpful way. Photo books will last forever in the sense that gear comes and goes, but books, like photography books, can be really nice. So getting a couple books from photographers you like is always interesting.
Yeah.
Analyzing what they do and why they did it, I think it's very helpful sometimes too.
Yeah. And it can even be a nice creative exercise to try to replicate the way that people do things.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
obviously we're not trying to copy someone and that becomes your whole thing.
Steal like an artist.
Yeah, but if you see somebody who does really good work with a certain type of lens and a certain type of environment, go try to do it. And you'll learn something about the way that you interact with the gear and the subject, and that'll help you figure out your own style.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
If not a holiday, that always helps.
Yeah.
Longso ban. Will there be a film vending machine in Helsinki? Well, I guess I'm in charge of moving the Helsinki office starting in
we're moving
2 days.
the Helsinki office this weekend, actually.
Yeah. So we're opening a new location in Helsinki. We're moving the old location to a new location due to construction and constraints with size and plenty of other reasons. The new building is the Sanomatalo, which is central to basically the train station in Helsinki, which is going to be really nice for people that are coming to visit. Obviously, our Helsinki store is a bit more like a kiosk where we just kind of have like a little bit of customer service. We don't have everything there. People sometimes think that. But the film vending machine in that building is something we would have to ask the building because obviously we're inside a building that's owned by somebody else. But I wouldn't say there's exactly a space for it yet. But it does have a, like central holes that are common and stuff. So maybe it's
could put
possible.
it in the hallway, maybe.
But
It would have to be a different model than the one we have here, because the one we have here is pretty loud.
Yeah. The idea is there will be a film fridge there with film stocks, probably even more full than it is currently because we want to try to bring more products to the storefront in Helsinki because the location is so much better. But yeah, the machine was maybe a stretch for now, but we'll try to do that probably, if possible, in next year. Then we have Isak Yarin. Where do I find light seals and dampers for my Nikon F2?
On our website. Well, the Nikon F2, I don't think should need light seals, at least in the back. It should work without them, but in terms of mirror dampening, we sell that on our website. So you can look up light seals. There's two different thicknesses. There's 1.5 millimeter and 3 millimeter. 3 millimeter is what you're going to want for that mirror dampening. And then 1.5 is if you have light seals in the back.
You can Google light seal foam, and it's 1.5 millimeters, like Connor said, and 3 millimeters. Obviously, we sell it, but there's other places you can buy it. So see what's local to you, and you can get it there. Obviously, one sheet is expensive, but it does render like 30 cameras. So don't worry about if it's only for one camera, it's a bit of a stinker. But if it's for multiple, or you can share with friends or other people that need light seals, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And light seals is probably the most recommendable repair you can do at home. It's pretty much safe for almost anybody. Worst that you can do is just glue shut your camera, but that's try to be careful. There's tutorials out there. We even have one out there.
Yeah.
We have Hugmars. How do you go about sourcing parts for obscure old cameras?
We
don't.
We sort of don't. The cameras that we don't really source parts that often. If a store closes that has parts, we'll buy them. But much more commonly, we get our parts from donor bodies. So we're buying constantly cameras from customers, broken cameras, working cameras, cameras in all sorts of conditions. And we're taking them apart to take one piece out, put it in another camera, take another piece out, put it in a camera, basically parting it out so that you turn one slightly broken camera into 6 or 7 working cameras. And that's definitely the most common thing. And a lot of the models that we do repair, the ones that are economically feasible for us to repair are the most common, common maybe isn't the best word, but most popular, so not obscure cameras.
Yeah.
So Leicas, Hasselblads, Mamiyas, these high value things that were maybe designed to be repaired.
Yeah. To me, the word that, like you said, obscure, obscure cameras usually are not reasonable to like really even learn to repair sometimes, because maybe we get one every 2 years. If they're highly valuable and obscure, then maybe, but then that part that might need repairing, if it really needs repairing, we probably won't want it, because we won't have donors. But if it is just a cleaning, lubing, and adjusting, we will do it and then put it in the market. We have mistakes like we bought a Linhof Technorama like 612 that, well, our mechanics were like, yeah, it's good, just normal service. And then opening it, I think something broke in their hands or something like that. And that turned into spare part. And we've already taken a couple of spares out of it to fix others. But that's like a 1,000 euro mistake we made for a camera that we can't fully service anymore, but it's become a donor. So that's kind of an obscure. And if it's really special and there's volume, which is the contrary of obscure, we will manufacture them. But most times we buy from repair shops or shops that just close down and offer us. We literally have a package coming right now from Madrid, from the official Hasselblad dealer, that was like, hey, we have these spare parts and some testing stuff. Do you want it? And we just kind of picked what we thought was interesting, and we will put them into good use hopefully soon.
So if you have anything like that or you know somebody who does, send us an email.
Yeah, and we do pay for them.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you want to gift them, but we try to pay for everything we get. So we don't try to just hoard things like, all for us.
Yeah, it is a really fine line of that economic viability with how many of them there are, how valuable they are to sell, and how hard they are to sell. I mean, Alpha cameras are a great example, I think.
And sometimes we even gift the parts. Recently, we found a partner for repairing some cameras that we can't do, and we had a bunch of parts, so we offered the parts for them, and they, in thankfulness, gave us a few free services. But we try to keep things moving. It makes no sense for us to sit on parts and be like, they are ours, and we don't touch them because we don't know how to repair that model. Nobody else can touch them. We will try to open, and the repair community is pretty nice, like mechanics and stuff, so we try to open conversations about like, hey, are you designing a part? I'm designing this part, and try to collaborate. But we're always too busy, both parties, so we try our best. Okay, last question. Stansfield Photo. How long is the apprenticeship to become a camera technician? What kinds of skills helps a person succeed? And
we were going to bring in Roman, our head technician, for this, but he's actually busy teaching the current camera technician school. So he's unable to answer the question, but he did give me some advice as to what type of skills would help you succeed in our program. First of all, the school itself is 6 months long. That's 6 months full-time. You're basically here 9 to 5-ish, regular office hours. And then after that, if you excel in that, you become a technician. You get hired. And then you continue to do that work for probably a year, maybe 2 years. And if you show aptitude for repairs in that time, you'll be tested by one of our mechanics. The mechanic will decide if he wants to take you on as an apprentice. And if they say yes, then you'll apprentice as a mechanic to learn how to actually repair cameras. So the overall process, if you want to go from nothing to fixing cameras, is like bare minimum probably 2 years, 2.5 years, if you really get everything on the first try and are good at things, good with your hands. Yeah, that doesn't happen so often. Normally it's longer than that, but yeah, it's possible.
I'll answer the second part. What kinds of skills help a person succeed? I would say, obviously, that your hands work. Like, if you're somebody that can hold the screwdriver, can, like, grab something carefully, like cleaning things, if you can have attention to detail. But also, one of the most important one is you're humble, you're willing to learn, you're willing to ask before you make mistakes, and you're willing to learn, to learn again from those mistakes. So if you have, I know it all kind of attitude, this would not be the place to work in, at least not our company. if you are like willing to understand and learn things, you will learn all through your working days. I know Roman, which is head of our technicians, still to this day sometimes learns a new thing from new cameras. There's so many camera systems, accessories that you just learn all the time.
I mean, we all learn new stuff almost every day. Every single day, something. I'm the head of the listing team, so right after, like right before it goes on the website, I see things. And every single day, it's like, this is something I've never seen before.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you don't have to look something up and find a new page on Camera Wiki or something to be like, what the hell is this?
And some of the best students we've had no idea about cameras. So don't think that because you know all about Nikons or all about Olympus or something like that, that will be better. Mostly the people that have excelled the most are the people that, like I said, can listen, can learn, and are willing to take it slowly. There's no there's no shortcut to getting to where Connor mentioned. Like there is steps to go, and you will have to do light seals, and you will have to clean lens elements on the front and the back, and you will have to clean accessories and all these kind of knickknacks. It's a lot of like that movie, the apply wax and clean, like polish wax.
That's a really good example.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of people that jump right into it and are like, when can I disassemble a Canon AE1 and fix the mirror magnet?
That's
And it's
usually
like,
a no
whoa,
for us, and
whoa.
we really don't appreciate that kind of attitude. Yes,
Yeah.
it's good to have motivation, but also we do know from past experience that people that come in that manner usually turn out to being the worst candidates to work in a company with a structure and we have standards for the cleaning, standards for the repairs, standards for the checking, and those people tend to cut corners. Like, I know this camera always faults here, and they won't test something else, and it's just like a formula for problems. So yeah, I would say those are the skills help to succeed.
Yeah, attention to detail is the thing that Roman specifically mentioned as something that's really important. But the teachability is a big
Attitude
thing as well. Yeah.
And yeah, maybe try to be on time. Like, that's another thing. Like last year's class, we had basically a huge problem with attendance. People that just wouldn't come. So that's always a good skill. If we started at 9, be here a couple minutes earlier and maybe at your station and clean it up before. Like those kind of good things that I think every employee or every worker can be good at is important to succeed. If you're late or you're lousy, it's just not a good start.
Yeah, that's good advice for pretty much any
everything.
position, is to show up on time, to be humble, be teachable, and to not think you know everything when you're just starting.
And take simple initiative, which doesn't mean you have to start opening the cameras, but you can start prepping the stuff for when they might let you. Like, there's always pre-work that you can do a little bit. But yeah, that's our Q&A for this week. Thank you everybody for submitting the questions. As always, Instagram on Thursdays, YouTube anytime you want. Connor curates the questions and we answer them here. Almost live.
Almost live. So thank you for watching. Like you said, leave the comments below if you want us to answer something specific. I've been Connor with Nico.
Oh,
see you in the next one.
And thanks for subscribing. We hit 10,000.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Before the end of the year.
So we can take the rest of the year off.
Yeah, we got a bonus. Working harder.
I wish.